I love baseball. The crack of the bats and roar of the crowd make me feel alive. My little brother caught the bug too, and our dad takes us to many games. It's our thing, just us guys enjoying baseball together. My dad fixes dents at a local body shop. He's been doing it for almost 20 years, and he's good at it. People come from all over town for his work. He can fix a dented door in less time than most people take to eat lunch. After a game where our team won by a home run in the ninth inning, we were hungry. My brother bounced around in the back seat showing the winning play over and over. Dad pulled into a McDonald's parking lot. My little brother cheered from the back seat. He was only 7 and loved McDonald's. We went inside, ordered our food, double cheeseburgers for Dad and me, chicken nuggets for my brother, and went back to Dad's truck to eat. Dad liked eating in the car. It was quieter, and we could listen to the post-game talk on the radio. We had just started eating when a silver sedan pulled next to us. The driver, a thin man with a scowl, swung his door open hard. It hit Dad's truck with a loud bang. Dad stopped eating and put down his burger. He got out to check the damage. The man had gotten out and was looking at where the doors hit. When he saw Dad, he pointed at the sky. The man said with an accent that wind pushed his door. Dad looked at the still trees, then back at the man. He told him there was no wind today and that he'd opened his door too hard, making a dent in Dad's truck. The man shook his head and kept saying it was the wind. Dad took a deep breath. He told the man he fixes dents for a living and could fix it himself, but it would take time. He asked for $60 for his time with no need to call insurance. This was fair. Dad was offering to fix the dent at cost. At his shop it would cost at least $100, but the man wouldn't pay. He blamed the wind again. Dad said there was no wind, and my brother and I saw him hit the truck. The man looked at us watching from the truck. He got more upset. The man called Dad a liar who taught his children to lie and a bad parent. Dad's face darkened. He told the man not to bring his kids into this. The man got louder. He called Dad a stupid American and cursed at Dad, the truck, and us kids. I covered my little brother's ears, but too late. His eyes went wide at the curse words. Dad stepped closer to the man, hands in fists. I'd never seen him so angry. He dared the man to repeat what he'd said about his kids. The man backed up but kept yelling. He told Dad to call the police, saying they would defend him because he did nothing wrong. Dad took out his phone and agreed that calling police was a good idea. The man crossed his arms and smirked. Dad called the local police station and told them what happened. While waiting for police, Dad got back in the truck with us. The food was cold, but none of us wanted to eat anymore. My little brother asked if we were in trouble. Dad rubbed his hair and told him we weren't in trouble because we didn't do anything wrong. He said sometimes adults disagree, and when they can't fix it themselves, police can help. About 15 minutes later, an unmarked police car pulled in. A tall officer got out and talked to both Dad and the man, then came to the truck to talk to me and my brother. The officer asked us what happened. I told him everything exactly as it happened, and my brother nodded. The officer thanked us and went back to writing what looked like a ticket. The man got angry right away. He said he hated cops. Dad, watching nearby, told the officer what the man said. The officer said since he didn't hear it himself, he couldn't do anything about it. What we didn't notice was a second officer still sitting in the unmarked car, watching everything. He got out holding handcuffs. The first officer saw his partner coming and told the man his partner heard what he said. The man's eyes got big. He tried to run but didn't get far. All 3 men, the 2 officers and Dad, caught him easily. The man fought while they put handcuffs on him, making things worse. An officer told the man he was under arrest for resisting arrest and threatening minors. When the officer was writing the ticket, the man had threatened the officer, Dad, and us. I didn't hear it from the truck, but it must have been bad. The officers took the man to their car and Dad came back to the truck. He told us we could go and that police had our information if needed. Leaving the parking lot, I saw colorful balloons in the man's car. They were pink and purple with happy 3rd birthday on them. Dad saw them too. He said someone's birthday just got less happy. I asked if he felt bad for the man. Dad shook his head. He said the man made his choices. He could have paid $60 and made it to the party. Instead, he was going to jail and would pay much more in fines. That evening, Dad fixed the truck dent in less than an hour. While working, he talked about taking responsibility for mistakes. Dad said the man's problem wasn't the accident, but that he couldn't admit his mistake. Then he made it worse by bringing us into it. Some people can't stand being wrong. The man spent a couple days in jail and paid several $100s in fines, all because he wouldn't admit he opened his car door too hard and paid $60. I've been working at Pete's Pizza for nearly 4 years now. I started as a dishwasher and worked my way up to assistant manager. The hours are long, especially on weekends, but most of our customers are decent folks just looking for a good meal. But then there's the college crowd. Don't get me wrong, most college students are fine. They tip well enough, they're polite, and they understand how delivery works. But then there's the Brotherhood House. That's what they call themselves. It's this massive two-story house just off campus where about 20 guys live. They're all part of some exclusive social club that thinks they're better than everyone else. The kind of guys who wear matching jackets and talk about networking opportunities, but really just throw wild parties and make life miserable for everyone around them. We have this 30 minutes or free policy at Pete's. It's a marketing gimmick that works well enough, but the Brotherhood House had turned it into a game. Every weekend, they'd place an order and then try everything possible to get it for free, giving wrong addresses, hiding their house number, or claiming the delivery was late when it wasn't. My boss had finally had enough and put a note by the phone: no more deliveries to the Brotherhood House. It was that bad. But one Friday night, they ordered using a different name. We didn't realize who it was until our delivery guy, Chuck, was already on his way. Chuck's one of our best, hard-working, always on time, and genuinely nice. He's older than most of our staff, probably in his mid-30s, with a wife and 2 kids at home. He takes extra shifts whenever he can to support his family. So Chuck heads out with the delivery, and 30 minutes later he comes back soaking wet with this horrible smell. I knew something was wrong right away. I asked Chuck what had happened. He told me that those Brotherhood jerks had played a nasty trick on him. He said he had arrived at their house in just 18 minutes and knocked on the door, but nobody answered. He knocked again with no response. He then went around to the side entrance because he could hear people inside laughing. That's when someone opened a window upstairs and dumped a bucket of pee on him. Actual pee, he added. My boss, who was counting the register nearby, stopped what he was doing. He said this was the final straw and that he was calling the cops. While Chuck went to clean up as best he could in our bathroom, my boss called the police. They showed up at our shop about 10 minutes later, took statements, and then asked if we wanted to press charges. My boss didn't hesitate and told them absolutely, saying that this behavior had gone on long enough. So the cops drove to the Brotherhood House with Chuck and my boss following in the company car. I stayed behind to manage the shop, but my boss filled me in on everything later. When they got there, this clean-cut guy answered the door, not the usual rowdy type you'd expect. According to my boss, the police officer told the student that they had received a complaint about an assault on a delivery driver. The officer explained that someone had dumped urine on the driver from an upstairs window and asked if the student knew anything about it. The clean-cut guy responded nervously, saying there had been a misunderstanding. He claimed it was just a harmless prank that went too far, and they were all sorry about what happened. When the officer asked who did it, the clean-cut guy hesitated before admitting that he was the one and apologizing, saying he wasn't thinking clearly. The cop looked at my boss, who nodded, and they arrested the guy on the spot. He was shocked they were taking it so seriously. He kept saying it was just a prank, as they put him in the squad car. At the police station, the clean-cut guy was being processed when a car full of Brotherhood guys showed up. 2 of them approached the officer handling the paperwork. The first Brotherhood guy told the officer there had been a mistake and claimed the arrested student didn't do it. The second Brotherhood guy backed this up, admitting that they were the ones who had dumped the liquid on the delivery guy. He said their friend was just covering for them. The officer looked between them and the clean-cut guy, asking if this was true. The clean-cut guy sighed and said yes, he had been trying to protect his brothers. The cop then had all 3 of them sit down and took formal statements. Once he had confirmation that the 2 Brotherhood guys were the actual culprits, he arrested them for assault. The clean-cut guy stood up expecting to be released. He asked if he could go now. The officer told him no, he couldn't leave because he had just admitted to lying to a police officer during an investigation, which was another offense. And just like that, all three of them spent the night in jail. But the story doesn't end there. The next morning, the Brotherhood House woke up to find their building covered in bright orange construction paint. Big lettering across the front said P Boys, and every window was painted with variations of "We dump pee on people." Nobody knew who did it. Some thought it might have been other delivery drivers from around town since the Brotherhood House had been pulling similar stunts with other restaurants. Others thought maybe it was rival social clubs from campus. The police looked into it but couldn't find any witnesses or evidence pointing to anyone. The university wasn't happy. After years of complaints about the Brotherhood House, noise violations, harassment, property damage, this was the final straw. They revoked the group's official status and banned them from having university housing. The Brotherhood guys tried to clean the paint off, but that construction-grade stuff doesn't come off easily. For months, their house stood as a bright orange reminder of their stupidity. As for Chuck, the restaurant staff pulled together and bought him a new jacket and shoes to replace the ones that were ruined. My boss also gave him a bonus and made sure he didn't lose pay for the shifts he missed while dealing with the police reports. The Brotherhood House doesn't order from us anymore. I heard they can't get deliveries from any restaurant in town. Turns out treating service workers like garbage has effects. During my sophomore year of high school, I was pretty much your average student. Decent grades, a small circle of friends, and a quiet personality. I wasn't involved in any drama and kept to myself most of the time. That's why it confused me when this junior girl started giving me dirty looks for no apparent reason. The first time I noticed her glaring at me was in the hallway between classes. Our classrooms were in the same area of the building, so we often crossed paths. At first I thought she might be looking at someone else, but after catching her staring at me with narrowed eyes multiple times, I realized I was definitely her target. It got worse as the semester progressed. Junior classes typically finished about 5 to 10 minutes before the bell, so she and her friends would often linger around the sophomore classrooms. Whenever she saw me, she'd roll her eyes dramatically or whisper something to her friends, who would then laugh while looking in my direction. I honestly had no idea what I'd done to upset her. We had never spoken, and as far as I knew, we didn't have any mutual friends who could have said something about me. Despite racking my brain, I couldn't figure out why she hated me so much. The harassment continued throughout my sophomore and junior years. Whenever we passed each other in the hallways, she and her friends would talk loudly about pathetic people while looking directly at me, or they'd make disgusting grunt noises. It was childish, but it still hurt. Senior year was finally peaceful, since she had graduated, and I could walk the halls without constantly looking over my shoulder. After graduation, I told my older sister about everything that had happened. When I explained to my sister about the bullying, I told her I never understood why this girl had targeted me specifically since we had never even spoken. My sister responded with anger, saying I should have told her when it was happening because she would have done something about it. I just shrugged it off, explaining that it wasn't worth the drama and it was over now anyway. My sister was furious but agreed there wasn't much to be done after the fact. We moved on with our lives, and I started college while my sister became a manager at a coffee shop downtown. A couple of years later, I was visiting my sister when she mentioned hiring a new girl who had attended our high school. My sister casually mentioned that she had hired someone who seemed nice during the interview but was constantly late for shifts. She explained that she had given the girl a warning but felt bad because the girl claimed she really needed the job to pay for her apartment. When I asked for the girl's name, my sister told me, without thinking much of it. When my sister told me, something clicked. I quickly looked her up on Facebook, and there she was, my high school bully, in all her glory. I called my sister immediately, exclaiming that the girl she had hired was the same one who had bullied me throughout high school. My sister responded with shock, saying the girl had been nothing but trouble at work and only acted properly when my sister was around. We both started laughing at the cosmic coincidence. My sister suggested that I pretend to be the new manager for a day, her eyes gleaming with mischief as she laid out the plan. The plan was simple but brilliant. The other employees who would be working that day were friends of mine from college who had gotten jobs there. They also disliked this girl because of how rude she was to them when my sister wasn't around. The next day, I showed up in my sister's work clothes, my hair pulled back in a professional bun. My sister hid in her office but kept the door cracked so she could see everything. I walked in confidently and introduced myself to everyone as the new manager. When our eyes met, I could see the color drain from her face. She clearly recognized me, but she was trying to maintain her composure. I approached her with a professional smile, introducing myself as the new manager and explaining that I would be evaluating everyone's performance that day. She responded with a nervous nod, clearly uncomfortable. Throughout the morning, I asked her difficult questions about coffee preparation techniques and customer service policies. She stumbled through most of her answers while looking anxiously at my sister's office door. Finally, after watching her squirm for a few hours, I approached her during her break. I asked her if she remembered me, my voice calm. She replied nervously, admitting that she did remember me, but suggested that the past should stay in the past. I responded by reminding her how she had made my high school experience miserable for 2 years straight, describing the eye rolling, the grunt noises, and the loud talking about me in the hallways. One of my friends, who had also been bullied by her, came over. My friend approached and asked if the bully remembered her too, explaining that she had also been one of the bully's targets in high school. The bully's face twisted with anger. The bully called us witches and said she hated the job anyway. Her voice was shrill as she shouted her hatred. She started grabbing things off the counter and throwing them. Coffee beans scattered across the floor, cups smashed against the wall, and then she picked up a large decorative vase and hurled it to the ground. Just as the vase shattered, my sister emerged from her office with her boyfriend, who happened to be a police officer, right behind her. My sister told the bully she was fired and would be paying for all the damage she had caused. The police officer approached her with handcuffs and began reading her rights, explaining that she had the right to remain silent and that anything she said could be used against her in court. As he spoke, he secured the handcuffs around her wrists. Later that day, my sister, her employees, and I cleaned up the mess. My sister apologized to everyone and paid them extra from her own pocket for dealing with the situation. A few months later, we heard that she had been charged with destruction of property and harassment. She was fined thousands of dollars and sentenced to 100 hours of community service. My sister had pressed charges and mentioned the bullying incidents in her statement. After the story got out, 8 other people came forward with their own stories about how she had bullied them in high school. Apparently, making others miserable had been her favorite hobby. I've been working at our family-owned used car dealership for almost a decade. We specialize in helping people with less than perfect credit get reliable transportation. Most folks in our small community know us as the place to go when the big dealerships turn you away. Last month, a young couple walked into our lot with 2 little girls under 5 years old. The husband was tall and lanky, while the wife had this nervous energy about her. I learned they'd made some financial mistakes and now had poor credit scores. When I asked what they wanted, the wife explained they needed something with a third row for the girls. The husband admitted they'd been turned down everywhere else. I explained how they could rebuild their credit while showing them options. I told them I thought I could get them approved with the wife's mother as a co-signer. The wife seemed happy, saying her mom would help them. After some paperwork, I secured them financing for a nice SUV. They were short on the down payment, so I agreed to take a check for the balance and cash it on the husband's next payday. The next week, I deposited their check. 2 days later, it bounced, with fees charged to our account. The amount was just under felony level in our state. I called the wife about the bounced check. She claimed the money was in their account. Later, she called back, claiming a mix-up with her husband's pay, and asked if they could pay half in 2 weeks and half 2 weeks after. I agreed. 2 weeks passed with no word. Then the bank called. They hadn't made their first car payment either. With our financing arrangement, if a customer misses their first payment, we have to buy back the loan. The husband finally answered, saying he lost his job but started a new one and his mother-in-law would help them catch up. I worked out a deal with the bank. If they made their current payment, the bank would keep the loan, but I'd be responsible if they missed any of the next 3 payments. They made that payment. The next month, same story. No payment. No answers to calls. The mother-in-law called in tears, saying she gave them everything she could from her social security check, but they didn't cover the rest as promised. The bank demanded their money back. The couple blocked me on everything, even blocking the mother-in-law who tried to help them. I took their bounced check to the prosecutor, who filed charges. I called family members and learned the husband had 7 jobs in 4 months and borrowed money from every relative without repaying. The wife's father told me he was trying to get custody of their children. He said they were staying at his other daughter's house across state lines, hiding the car in the garage. I discovered both were on probation for shoplifting. I told their probation officer they'd moved across state lines and were facing new charges. I convinced the neighbor to call me if they saw the SUV outside. It took one day. My friend recovered the vehicle despite their yelling and threats. By moving across state lines, they violated probation and got 30 days in jail. During their video court appearance for the bad check, they were already behind bars. The wife's father got temporary custody of the girls. I worked out an arrangement with the bank to remove the loan from the mother-in-law's credit report. She didn't deserve having her life ruined by her daughter's poor choices.